problem. And I want to urge the minister to look at us differently. You know, as a county, don't tell us you have 150 billion, 600 billion. They may be important. The question is, Mr. Speaker, the question is, even the roads that are there, and I'm speaking specifically, the Garseni, Hola, Madogo Road, that main junction that you've talked about. Are you aware that the contractors that you've given for maintenance are failing to do the work? As we are talking now, just a little bit of rain, there are potholes everywhere between Garseni and Hola. And between Hola and Madogo, who are these contractors? And why are they not maintaining the roads as per standards? And what are you going to do about them? Because it seems they are connected people. People are telling, information reaching me is that it is the same person contracted all the time for maintenance, and the same bad roads are give us the same bad results every year, especially when the rainy season comes. So who are these contractors, and what are you going to do about disciplining them or giving these contracts to other people who are more deserving? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Honorable Senator. First of all, as a doctor, when you have a problem before you, if you are a very experienced doctor, you may want to deal with a heart attack because that may kill immediately. And then you ask your assistant to help you deal with the malaria under your supervision. So it is a choice you have to make in the situation that you are dealing with. But I can tell you for sure that part of the problems we have in that in Tana River, in the country, in the pending bills, is the one that is inhibiting us from starting new roads in these areas. As I told you, Mr. Speaker, we are speaking to our development partners to see how they can be able to help us. First, you saw the situation of, as I told you, the pending bills. Our China government friends are gracious enough to tell us, come to the table and let's have the conversation. And if we are able to make progress this conversation, Mr. Speaker, it will help us to elevate the situation that we are in. And if we do so, then we can use money that we are going to get to deal with the issue of new roads in the places like Tana River. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is I can't remember, of course, I can't remember all contractors offered. If this question had come early, definitely, we would make sure that we come with the name of the contractor. But what I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, is that this road the road from Garsen to Hola is being divided to 3 lots, which is Garsen Hola, Mr. Speaker, as contracts, ongoing contracts for the next 36 months. The new contractors that have been put in place, I can be able to share their names, but they just started the work this January. If the work is substandard, they were awarded 25th of January. If the work is substandard, Mr. Speaker, I am willing, as I said, when we have this conversation with the Senator and the MPs, members of National Assembly, I am willing to visit the site with them and to make sure that the contractor is held into account. Remember, this is a very old road that was done by NYS all those years, and maybe the standards then were not Kenya standards. So in this work that we are doing under maintenance, we are actually not maintaining, we are rehabilitating, almost reconstructing the roads in some sections using the road maintenance levy fund. So those potholes you are talking about, we are aware, the ministry is aware, and we are going to work out to ensure that those roads are addressed. But as I invited you, Mr. Honorable Senator, when you come, we will have that conversation, particularly as to the role of the contractors and the quality of the contractors that we have. And I always tell honorable senators and leaders, elected leaders, that these meetings that we have in my office are not in vain. They actually help us do our job because it's part of accountability. The leaders come there and say, you see, look, and you know, all the road agencies are sitting there. Representative of the road agencies, the director generals, Kena, Kura, Kera. So we are not asking questions generally you're asking them directly there, and we are asking questions. And we even agree that we need to terminate certain contracts because such contractors are unresponsive. And Mr. Speaker, we are ready to work together with Honorable Mungatana and the rest of the elected leaders on that issue. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and Waziri. Now, I wanted, Mr. Speaker, sir, to ask a question on my county. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the CS is aware of what is happening in most of the parts of the country, but more specifically, Isiolo being one of the marginalized counties. The only tarmac road that we have, CS, I hope you are listening to me because I can see you are looking down. Kindly just listen to me. We have only one tarmac road in Isiolo since independence, and that is Kina Garbatula, 71 kilometer. That was actually done 2015. 7 years down the line, that road is still not complete. And again, the work done there is substandard. I am requesting CS Murkomen. I know you are passionate about marginalized counties. Kindly look into that road and see that it has been finalized. Secondly, we have a few roads, a final one, Mr. Speaker, kindly.
No, you're making requests. You're supposed to ask questions. One question only. The request, maybe you'll make it if you visit. I think the CS has been very kind. He's invited all of you with issues to sit down with him. So I think those requests, you can make them when you visit him. But for now, ask the minister a question. And it's only one single question that you are allowed to make now.
Anyway, the question is, what are you doing to the roads that are not complete and they have taken many years to be completed? And there are so many of them, specifically in Isiolo County Central, and that particular one that I've mentioned. I thank you.
Honorable CS.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the Honorable Senator Fatuma Dulo, my former deputy, Mr. Speaker, on this very important issue of marginalization. As I said earlier, if you look at the current equalization fund, let me just refer to, if you look at the equalization fund, Mr. Speaker, Isiolo was supposed to, there are two projects that are still pending in Isiolo, which is the Kubi-Tulo Bridge. They have not yet constructed or utilized that money. You have in your account 247 million shillings that is going towards that bridge. You must have seen Kera as currently advertised for that road. Then you have Kipsing Oldini Bridge, which also has been allocated 120 million from the equalization fund. So once it's awarded, Mr. Speaker, we will be able to construct that particular road. Bridges, those two bridges. Those are under equalization fund that I discussed earlier. Isiolo and Turkana are the two counties that are yet to utilize their equalization fund among the 14 counties identified as part of equalization fund. The good news for Isiolo is that we have a very ambitious program in the north under the Horn of Africa projects that are supported by the World Bank and African Development Bank, and Isiolo, Mandera, Isiolo, Mandera, Marsabit, Wajir are great beneficiaries of those roads. You know, Honorable Senator, that Isiolo Modokashe is was awarded. It's about to start, and that's with an assured funding. I think in your county it will have about 150 kilometers. And we are also doing the road from Garissa to Isiolo through Karbatula, if I'm not wrong. I can't remember the number of kilometers, but they're way over 100 kilometers. Initially, it was supposed to be a Maram road. But when we came to office, we've said both the Lapsed road from Lamu to Garissa and from Garissa to Isiolo, it will not make sense if we leave it Maram. It will not open the road for the purpose that was intended, to make a new corridor for taking our goods to both South Sudan and southern Ethiopia, with a combined population of over 70 million. So our objective is to make sure that that road is done, and Isiolo and all those marginalized counties. In another 5 years, Mr. Speaker, I think the question of marginalization on infrastructure will have been fairly addressed, Mr. Speaker, through these Horn of Africa projects. And I think the only remaining part is how to connect Isiolo to Turkana, Mr. Speaker, through the Kerio Valley region, so that we can access South Sudan, and we are working on it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, CS, and thank you for your invitation. We are going to come to your office. Mr. Speaker, the calculation the CS has given is misleading. When Senator Mungatana asked about his county, what the CS would have done, and that is my question, is he talked about 21,556 kilometers of tarmac road. Out of this, 442,000 was done in Tana River. I want to ask the CS, how many kilometers of road is supposed to be tarmacked in Tana River out of 442 kilometers that was tarmacked? Because the narrative he's giving is the tarmacked roads. But what he needs to give us, like I come from Marsabit County, it's a very big county. We have roads that has not been tarmacked. We have only 50 kilometers of tarmac road. If you tell us about what has been tarmacked, then that means when I talk about Marsabit County, the roads that are supposed to be tarmacked will not be tarmacked, because you will tell me you have got 400, which is the total you are giving is 458 kilometers of tarmac road per county. I want to ask the minister to tell us how many kilometers of roads that are supposed to be tarmacked in Tana River out of 442 kilometers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Mr. Speaker, if my friend Honorable Chute had applied himself to the question, he would understand that I was answering a question. And the question was, could the Cabinet Secretary state the distance in kilometers of tarmac roads national government has constructed, and then list the ones in Tana River? So had I not done so, Mr. Speaker, I would not have been responsive to the question. What I understand the Honorable Senator to be saying is that, Mr. Speaker, which if he followed also my response, he would appreciate, is that you cannot say 442 kilometers, even if equally distributed would have been assumed to be a share of Tana River, is a fair distribution. And I've said that the principle of equity demands that you treat every area differently. And the northern part of the country, you must be treated as per distance. So, Speaker, let me say this. I sat in this house for months, for weeks, for days, discussing about county allocation of revenue formula. A very, very passionate debate that we had in this house. And Mr. Speaker, there were those who were saying that you don't discuss about distance of counties when you are allocating resources. But Mr. Speaker, if you don't discuss distance, then those counties will never get roads. Because it means that you will say, since the population is small, from one position to another, let that 2-3 people walk as others are using tarmac road. I believed then, and I believe it even more now, that, Mr. Speaker, the only way you can unlock the potential of a country like ours, and for regions, Mr. Speaker, like the North, with enormous resources, with potential, Mr. Speaker, in terms of development, is, Mr. Speaker, infrastructure is the only answer. There is nothing that can answer the problem of the North except infrastructure. If we do and construct good roads across the northern part of the country, all this population that we are bragging about, that we are many in the other parts of the country, will move to the north, Mr. Speaker, will establish businesses in the north. If you go to other parts of the world, a desert like Dubai, Mr. Speaker, Dubai is a desert for all intents and purposes. But the people of that country and leadership decided that we want to develop this area to be what it is. If we decide to develop Isiolo today, Mr. Speaker, make sure that the airport is working well, the roads are connected, all this population, all these people who are saying we are many will move there. And suddenly, Mr. Speaker, we will have a greater development in that area. So, Honorable Chute, my job for now, as a CS of Roads and Transport, is to make sure that I unlock the potential that exists in your county and others in the north, so that then the rest of the country can benefit from the potential that is in those areas. And we correct the history of the sessional paper number 10 of 1965 that said that high potential areas were only areas that were in particular regions, Mr. Speaker, and not in others. I thank you.
Senator Veronica.
Honorable CS, I want to welcome you back to Senate, albeit in a different capacity, and we hope that you're burning the midnight oil to ensure that all counties are well serviced and resourced in terms of infrastructure. Honorable CS, my question is relating to the Mau Mau Road, which cuts across Kiambu, Murang'a, Nyeri, and a big portion of the central region. And before I go there, Honorable CS, I don't want to condense this question with another one, but I sense the need for your ministry to work very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture, in ensuring that the food basket counties have sufficient network which can then bring the produce of food from their counties during the years of plenty, so that Kenyans can stop having years of scarcity. But that said, I'm wondering how long it will take for the ministry to complete the Mau Mau Road that is cutting across those several counties within the central region, and why it has taken so long to complete. And I know Senator Mungatana has helped us in asking these questions by saying that treatment for malaria must be treated separately from treatment for heart attacks, and each will need to be sufficiently addressed so that the needs of the Kenyan people can be met. So, CS, when do we wait to get this network complete, road network complete? And you remember very well, when we were in Kandara constituency just the other day, the by-election for Kandara, one of the promises we were giving to the people in Kandara who are near Kegumo, Kandara, that area, was about the completion of this road network.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my friend Senator Veronica for this question. Mr. Speaker, it speaks to the core issue of pending bills and roads that are pending. I don't know if he was insinuating that in Honorable Mungatana's analogy, the Kandara Mau Mau roads were the malaria. The one for Tana River is the heart attack. But, Mr. Speaker, true. I want to correct an impression that might easily be created about the roads that have not been constructed, that have been pending. Most of those roads, including the Mau Mau roads, have been pending for over 2 years. Mau Mau roads were started like 3 years ago, and barely 10% did not even start. The machines, they went there, started opening, and nothing was done. So these roads have been pending way before the election of Kenya Kwanza administration. So these roads have historical problems of neglect, because they were done, and sometimes you ask yourself whether procurement rules were followed, because the procurement law requires that before you tender for a road or any project, you must have a budget for the entire resources. So of course, perhaps there was a budget, but the budget was diverted to other things. And I don't want to be very political here, but a lot of it was diverted for the last 2-3 years to do things that were not core mandate of the government as per its own budget. So we are inheriting, and I can tell you, Honorable Veronica Maina, that some of the roads have been pending from 2015, 2016. If you go to Tharaka-Nithi, for example, there's a road called Chakarika-Marimanti, which has been pending from 2015, 2016. A number of roads in, you saw a road that is in Nyandarua. We were there the other day and people were asking, why are we relaunching a road that was launched in 2016, 2017? Because it was launched and then left. No money was given. So a number of those roads have absolutely nothing. I have seen some politicians who want to ride on these things to say, oh, this government is leaving our roads, they're not doing our roads. They should go back first to the history and ask themselves, these roads have been pending since when? They have been there 5, 6, 7 years. On average, all the pending roads are 4 to 5 years, average. Some extreme are 8 to 9. As I said, it is not for me to write another book of lamentation. So it's for us to resolve the problem. And we promise as a government, both in our manifesto, but also in our utterances, that we are going to make sure that all the pending roads are completed. And I said that we will not start new roads until we complete the pending roads. I also added that if we have to start new roads, it will be the ones we have discussed with our development partners, where they're giving us concessional support to build those roads. That's why my meetings with leaders always helped us also identify key critical counties and counties that never were considered for construction of roads, so that when we get concessional funding and support from development partners, we can channel them to the ones that have absolutely no new road. And then the ones that have pending roads, like you've said, Muranga, Kiambu. I was in Kiambu the other day. I was in Katundu South. And the contractor has been there forever. Although it's a special case, the contractor is incompetent because we don't have a pending certificate from him. So we are working on road-by-road basis, but I can assure you our dream is that in the next 3 years, we should complete all the pending roads. But let me also warn us here that the government as a whole has found itself with a challenge, and that challenge is for debt. There was unregulated borrowing that went into the last 2-3 years that has left a huge pending bill. And the president and government made a decision that if you find yourself in a hole, you don't keep digging. First of all, we pause, we look for ingenious ways of resolving these problems. As I said, we are speaking to development partners, we're speaking to our friends. We want to see if we can get more concessional support than this borrowing from the market that is on a market rate. It's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be supported by our debt ceiling at the moment. But rest assured, we will complete all the pending roads. I want to ask for patience, for you to help us tell your constituents. There is no point in planting bananas on those roads. The Speaker, we appreciate food security. It's very important. But let's plant the bananas where they're supposed to be planted. We will construct the roads as soon as we have the resources. The unfortunate situation is that we can't put also the same Kenyans in a problem just to solve another problem. And therefore, we want to be responsible citizens by building the roads progressively while we solve the question of national debt and the economy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join my colleagues in welcoming our former senator to the Senate. I think he's doing very well in the road